Have you ever been in a season where it feels like heaven has just gone quiet? Where the promises you're holding on to feel so delayed and your prayers just seem to hang in the air? Well, what if I told you that silence isn't a punishment at all? What if it's actually a hidden test, a divine preparation for your destiny? Let's dive into that idea.
You know that feeling, right? It can be incredibly isolating. You look around and it seems like everyone else is moving forward. You see the weddings, the answered prayers, the love stories unfolding, and you just feel stuck. I'm sure you've asked, God, when? When is it going to be my time? That feeling of being forgotten is the very thing we're going to tackle today. All right, so here's our game plan. First, we're going to reframe what that silence really means. Then we'll get into the specific purpose behind your season of waiting. After that, we'll look at marriage in a whole new light, not as a reward, but as a divine calling. Then comes the exciting part, the signs that your season is about to shift. And finally, we'll talk about how to choose faith over fear when it's time to step into that promise. Okay, let's start with this. This is a crucial reframe. The silence you've been enduring, those long nights, all the unanswered questions, they were never about punishment. The entire time, what felt like this painful, empty void was actually a season of intense preparation. Heaven was never silent. It was just shaping you for what was about to come. This slide really just brings it all home. Look at that left side. Denial, punishment, absence. I mean, that's exactly what it feels like in the moment, doesn't it? But now look at the right side. That's the divine reality. What felt like denial was actually preparation, clearing the path. What felt like punishment was truly protection, shielding you from things you couldn't even see. And that feeling of God's absence, that was a season of intense focused development. Every closed door was just a redirection. So here's the bottom line. That period of waiting was a test. But listen, it wasn't a test for God to see your heart. He already knows it. It was for you to discover the true depth of your own faith. It was this sacred, hidden season designed specifically to get you ready for the very thing you've been praying for. Okay, so we reframed the silence. Now let's dig into the why. Why the wait? Why the test? Well, it's because God doesn't give huge blessings to unprepared hearts. The waiting period is an active time, a time of forging and refining. It's all about becoming the person who can actually carry the promise he has for you. This definition right here, this is the core of everything we're talking about. I mean, think about Joseph, right? He wore chains in a prison before he ever wore a robe of honor. Think of David, who hid in caves before he ever wore a crown. The hidden test is designed to mold you, to strengthen you, so that the blessing, when it finally comes, doesn't become the very thing that breaks you. So, how does this molding actually happen? Well, it works in 3 really key ways. First, it refines your character. It polishes your compassion, your discernment. Second, it deepens your faith, proving that your trust is real, even when there's no evidence. And third, and this is so important, it anchors your heart completely in God, so you're no longer looking to a person or a promise as your ultimate source of worth. And this right here, this quote brilliantly illustrates the turning point. This is the moment the test is passed. It's that point of complete surrender, where your love for God finally becomes greater than your desire for the blessing itself. It's a shift from desperation to total trust. And let me tell you, that is the language of answered prayer. Now let's shift our perspective a little bit on marriage itself. In heaven's design, marriage isn't just the prize at the end of a long wait. It's a calling. It's a divine assignment that requires 2 prepared people ready to fulfill a mission together. This quote just cuts right to the heart of it. A divine union is designed to advance God's will here on earth. It's about building character, multiplying your impact, and creating a testimony of his faithfulness. The goal is purpose, not just comfort. I want you to think back on your season of waiting for a second. Every single challenge was actually divine training. Heartbreak, that taught you the difference between attachment and a true spiritual connection. Solitude taught you that peace has to come before a partnership. And rejection, that taught you that your worth is defined by God's love, not by human approval. These are the non-negotiable skills for a God-ordained marriage. This is such a reassuring truth. I really want this to sink in. The goal was never to become flawless. The goal was to become prepared. Prepared in spirit, anchored in faith, and ready to walk alongside someone as a partner in destiny, not just a companion. So how do you know? How do you know when this long season is finally coming to an end? Well, there comes a moment when the entire atmosphere around you starts to change. There are subtle but very real signs that heaven has started to move, and your shift is underway. You know, the way God works is often quietly and then suddenly. Think about it. One moment, Joseph was a prisoner, and literally the next, he was second in command of Egypt. One moment, Ruth was a widow picking up leftover grain in a field, and the next, she was being noticed by Boaz. After a long period of quiet preparation, the fulfillment can happen so swiftly.
So what should you be looking for? First, as this slide shows, it's an internal shift. That storm cloud of anxiety you've lived under for so long starts to part, and this deep peace, like sunshine, takes its place. Externally, you'll notice these divine alignments. The right people, including the right person, are just drawn to you. Conversations and opportunities will pop up that feel totally heaven-sent. And you'll look back and realize every closed door was just clearing the path for what's arriving now. This brings us to our final and honestly most actionable part. When the promise finally starts drawing near, fear will often try to speak louder than faith. I mean, after years of waiting, it's only natural to feel some doubt. But this is the moment to actively choose to trust the God who sustains you through the entire journey.
Let's just look at this internal dialogue. Fear is going to whisper, "What if I'm not ready?" But your faith has to answer, "God's timing is perfect." Fear will say, what if this ends in pain, just like before? And your faith responds, "The past was my classroom, not my prison." You have to consciously replace the voice of fear with the declaration of faith. You've already passed the test. And here is your ultimate guide. Your final confirmation will not be a feeling of chaos or anxiety or confusion. It won't require striving or manipulation. What comes from God carries rest. Divine love carries the fragrance of peace. That peace in your spirit will be the unmistakable sign that this is right.
So, as we wrap this all up, the final question. It isn't for God anymore. It's for you. The peace you're beginning to feel is heaven's assurance that the storm has passed. You have waited well, you have trusted deeply, and the lessons of your hidden test have prepared you. The only question left is, are you ready to step forward in faith and receive it?